Hi and welcome to Cataganyat's Swan here, and welcome to Cuppa's Art Time. I decided to create a series with this title as I thought it reflected my personal journey a lot better. So what I have for you today is a mixed media project of a redo on a canvas. This canvas was part of a set given to me that has Scrabble letters on it. It was a private joke, so someone gave it to me. It was great. But I've decided perfect size to do an upcycle into a mixed media piece. So what I've actually got here is a new product that I'm trying called a collage paste, and I'm just seeing what it's like, how quick it dries, what abilities it passes to me, whether I can glue pieces down, work quickly on a project and go forward with my other ideas that I have. So what I'm currently doing is, with a lot of this collage paste, is gluing down some cardboard offcuts from cardboard cereal boxes that I've cut up to put in my ATC card box. So I actually pre-cut a lot of ATC cards, so if I decide to do some for just myself or to give as a gift, I can do so. Now here I'm just randomly placing wherever it feels right, so that's what I'm doing here, and I'm only currently working on the top of the canvas. So I'll just continue adding pieces here, as I said, randomly, with a little bit extra glue to set them, and then pushing that glue out and using it to cover the top so it's all sealed. Now the reason for sealing is to try and not have as much, if I use water, not have as much water space for it to actually get in under the pieces, because that's often where I find my problems when I'm doing a mixed media piece. As soon as I add water, it gets in underneath and you get a great big build up of colour underneath those cards, and sometimes, depending on the glue you've used, can often almost lift your 3D pieces. So this is a trial error with this product, so enjoy. So here I've decided to actually staple through the cardboard into the frame, or into the canvas itself. Now because it's actually already a pre-tightened canvas, the staples, as I've got it open, will just go straight through and hold those cards down a little bit extra, but plus it's adding that little bit extra texture to this mixed media piece. So I'll just add some staples where I feel they need it for support and making sure the canvas stays down while I'm drying and working on it. Plus I liked where it was going, so at the back you just saw how it pokes through. Now the piece has been dried off, what I'm doing now is I'm grabbing some Atelier interactive acrylic paint. So what this interactive acrylic does is it reactivates when it's actually gotten wet. So if you were, for example, creating a acrylic painting, instead of having to go over and not blending in the bottom layer, it actually will continue to blend. So bear that in mind as you watch me do this. This is why I do certain steps in this project. So I'm actually adding water with it too, as it activates really well. So there's heaps of more information on how to use this particular acrylic on the Atelier website. It's actually quite interesting. So I'm just going to continue to add some colour and add some products on here. So I'm just towel drying off the wet to allow it to dry quicker, so it's not so much. I think you can actually see places where the water has actually still been able to get into the cardboard. So I've decided now to add some washi tape. This is one of my favourite ones. It's an old advertising tape, and it's really great. I'm starting to run low. I think I use it a lot. Probably too much, but I like it a lot, so at least I'm using it. So I'll add some of these on the front here to add some more layers, and I'm also decided to add the old reliable the masking tape. So I tear it into thinner sizes as I like the patterns that the tear actually does, as well as the straight lines that you get from the other side. And I'm layering these on top of each other and crossed over from each other just to add a little bit of difference to the piece. So now that I've actually got this done, I'm actually going to grab some more of this decoupage glue and cover all those and make sure they're stuck down, as I found some of the cardboard was just still a little bit damp and it was actually not sticking properly. So adding this layer of decoupage, which as it is a sealer as well as a finisher, it will seal those tapes down quite well. So what I'm now adding onto my gel plate is some of another colour, which is a yellow. I'll get those names for you and add them later. And I'm just watering it down and spreading around. I really love this yellow. As soon as I seen it, I just, as you can see, just covered quite a lot of the actual canvas and even down the sides. So I'm actually now starting to include the sides into the art piece, adding some interest in the sides. As it's such a thick frame, you will see those particular parts as you're viewing the artwork on the wall. So now I decided to continue with that process of thought. I will add some of the washi tape down the side. So I'm just now going to add a few more strips down the side and the bottom, all round all four sides, so that the art piece continues around the full canvas. I shall speed it up now and get on to another stage. So now that I've dried that off after giving it another decoupage cover and sealed it all in, I grabbed my charcoal pencil and I done some scribbles all over the background as well. So now I'm just adding some titanium white in the teller, and I'm just spreading around to send back those colours a little bit more. So now adding some of the yellow on my brayer that's been watered down, and then adding it, and while it's all wet it merges in quite nicely, I thought, and it brings up the charcoal to a forward level. So I'm quite happy with that. So I'm just now pressing the rest of that paint that is damp on my gel plate onto the piece. So I'm now just adding some of the dark purple to it. I found it actually didn't quite work, and I'm actually rather disappointed with it. But I'm just going to see how it works with adding some of the little birdie crackle paste that I have, and I'm just going to place that on with my silicone spatula. Sorry for going out of scene, but it just was a lot easier bringing it closer to me to see what I was doing. Now I've actually, when I've done it, I've actually bounced the silicone brush up and down on it to give it some actual extra texture, and I'm hoping I get some cracks in that as well. And then now I'm just drying all that off to see what I've actually got. So now that that's dried, as I just cut that section out so I can speed up the film, I'm adding another colour. This is a brown, a sienna I think it's called, and as I said, I'll actually add the colours to the blog page when I'm actually finish this project. So I'm just really watering it down and giving it kind of a glaze or a kind of a wash over the whole canvas, and then I'm just grabbing the paper towel roll and just wiping all the dampness off. So there's still the colour there, that's still retained on there, but a lot of it's been picked back up with the paper towel, so it adds a different type of look on there, and I'm actually really liking what I'm seeing. So I've dried that off, and now I'm just going to add a bit more yellow. This one's an ochre, and probably one of my favourite colours of use because it adds a depth to it. And I'm also adding that lovely bright yellow again that I had in the original background, and I really wanted to bring that back in and try to eradicate that purple mistake. It happens. I could have probably picked it up with a paper towel, but it also adds another layer in behind, so I'm not really worried about it, and I'm just loving where this process is going. It was actually quite a fun project to use. Now this one's an Inktense, but it's not the black one I usually use. This one's actually an outliner. It still does activate similarly like the standard Inktense, but it's not as intense, I suppose. So it will activate to a degree, but it doesn't do the bleeding like the actual black intense pencil. So now I'm adding some of the black from that range, and I'm adding it on and taking it off, adding it on and taking it off. So this is just so some colour remains, but it doesn't dominate the page. And where I've added it in spots on the front, I've noticed that mixing it with the yellows, it's actually gone into a dark green, which was rather interesting to see. So of course drying off in between each stage. So in this next stage I decided to grab some more of the white and water that down a lot, and I'm going to actually try flicking it onto the actual canvas. I really don't have much luck with this flicking process, but I was still quite happy with the result. It added some lines to it, and I thought it was quite interesting to what it did. So again, drying off again between layers. From what I read about this particular acrylic, drying it off will semi-lock it anyway, so which is quite good, and I like, that's one of the reasons I like acrylics, as when it's dry it will actually lock, so it means you can add more layers without losing what you've created in the background. So what I've decided to do here is make a really white watered down wash with the white paint to get some drips down the page. So as you can see how wet it is, and bingo, my drips. And I do love the drip effect. It adds some lovely lines down any canvas. It also means you can also dry it off and add different blotches as well. So it actually, I was quite pleased with that result. It blended in quite well with the sprays that I'd previously done. So now I thought I'd bring in a green. As the green was brought in with the adding of the black, it actually brought like a green shade. All I saw a green shade in the actual canvas. So I thought, well, I'm going to go with that, and I really liked adding this bright green. I really felt it popped and helped the project quite well. So I'm just using the brayer here to roll on, and as there's the different layers, it only the canvas only picks up the paint in certain areas because of where it is. So now I decided it's time to lock down all those staples, as I didn't want to get hurt. So once said and done, I turned it over to have a look, and I'm just going to reach over and grab a new stencil I just purchased from Craft Online. This is a Ranger Delusion small stencil, and as you can see it's full of numbers, and they're all randomly sized, placed, and using the black acrylic from this range, I'm using a makeup brush and I'm dabbing it through around each of the sides and the front. So I'm making sure that the numbers sit correctly on each of the levels, so if you flick it to the side it's still readable. So I'm just adding a few, and I really like the look of that. And now I'm just grabbing the excess paint that I have left over and just adding it to the edging. I didn't think there was enough, so I just added a few more numbers. I've even added a few on a different angle just to give a point of difference. And of course, I've actually shown you cleaning off one of my stencils. Doesn't happen often, but this one's a new one. So now that's done, of course, drying begins again. So now I'm decided to grab, after I clean up, my archival pen, and I was starting to outline, and I decided no, I'm not going to use that, I'm actually going to use my charcoal. So now I'm grabbing the charcoal pencil, and this is a soft one, and it's actually has no wood, so it's actually just all charcoal, but it's got a coating on it so that you can still sharpen it and it's not breakable. So it's from Montmartre, and it's actually quite good, and as a soft charcoal it will blend quite well on a page, especially if you can get into the gaps that you've created on the 3D project. I'm just randomly adding lines etc to it and just smudging where I can. Now if you want to get the smudgings more prominent, you could probably use one of the blending tools that you can get, the blending stubs that's made out of paper, or even a earbud will do the trick. But I thought that actually worked quite well, and some of those items are now standing out a little bit more. So from this point, I'm not sure where have I gone somewhere. And I'm looking in the bottom drawer, which has a whole lot of my mixed media bits that my daughter actually gave me, and there's actually quite a few in here that I think I could use on this project. So I'm just going to go through this bag of bits and see what I can place here. So I'm just grabbing some items, deciding what I want to do, and I'm not sure at the moment, so I just find what I like, because there's a few that I don't. So I'm just putting some aside. I didn't want to reuse the numbers because I can see that I could use that for another project somewhere, and I love those words, but I think that'll get used for another project because I didn't think it worked. I am denied about the butterflies, and quite a bit I'll move backwards and forwards on the butterflies, but I'm not really sure. So it can be really hard to make a decision on this, so you just got to keep working until you find something you want. I like the way this looks, but I didn't actually want to do another feminine one. I wanted to do something that was probably more, not just manly, more universal, one that didn't matter. It wasn't prominently dominated to any type of label. So I decided to go with the bear card. It has a bee, so it looks like a actual playing card, and I'm just tore apart the measuring tape one to spread around to give balance to the layout. And I thought there's actually a beehive on the top of the card, so I thought I'd add that in the circle card that was available, and just added some of the other bits of colour toned in, and I thought all the colours matches. Now I'm still umming about that butterfly at the bottom. I've left it there for now because that's what I thought I was going to be using, and I'm juggling around all the little bits of paper to see, but they basically are what I'm going to be using in this project. So I'm going to grab the Express It 2-in-1 glue that I got from Wise Old Owl, and I'm just gluing the top layer from the top down so that it doesn't really move, so it's actually locked into place. It's rather it's probably it's not really a cheap way of doing it. It just means that you're going to, other than taking a photo and replacing everything exactly how you done it in the first place, this is adding them, gluing them on, and so it becomes one piece of mixed media, and that's what I've created there. So now I'm deciding how I'm going to add it. So I've actually taken the canvas away. So what I did when I'd taken the piece away is I've actually taken it across to my empty table behind me, and I've sprayed it with a product from Mod Podge. It's called Ultra. This is a matte. It's a spray-on, all-in-one glue and sealer, multi-surface, indoor and outdoor, no brush strokes. It's durable and it's non-tacky. Now I've used this before, and I haven't actually, I've just been trying it out, as it was also in the same purchase as I got the decoupage glue. So I thought I'd try it on this project, and it's actually bright in the colours. If you hadn't noticed, the colours are actually a lot brighter, which is really a great effect from any product. So that really is pleasing. So it dried really quickly using the heat gun, which was amazing. So what I'm just doing here is I'm actually trying, just grab some string to see if I'll add it shortly, which I've decided yes. So I'm now going to grab a sponge, and I'm going to try to go around all the edges of those little cards, which I should have done before I glued them down, but I got there. And so I'm using the vintage photo distress ink here, and I'm going around all the edges and just adding some of the ink around those. So I'm also now just adding some masking tape on the back to hold those pieces in place to make sure that they stay there. And as you see, I just also angled that other card that had a bear on it across, which I thought looked great. So now I'm just doing a little bit more distress inking around the edge of the canvas, and now I'm grabbing another glue that I got from Wise Old Owl. Now this is a Helmer 450 quick dry adhesive, and it can be used for general purposes, crystal clear, it's a quick drying, it's machine washable, and it's acid free, and it's a strong bond that lasts a lifetime. That's what it says on the bottle. So I've actually been using it, and I was really rapt that Rachel actually sent it over for me to try, as it's really impressive. So now I decided, after gluing all that down, I was going to add some string. So I stapled the end piece to one side, ran it around a few times to where I liked, stapled it all down on the back so it was all locked in, just moved it and frayed it a little bit on the front. Probably could distress it a little bit, but I was quite happy with that. And here is my final product. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, if I've skipped something because I go off on another tangent, please contact me, leave a comment below, let me know what you think, and if there's something you'd like me to try, please leave a comment. I'm quite welcome for any challenges. So happy crafting, take care, and see you soon. Bye.